The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
My guest is a returning, but this time she hasn't got the dynamic duo of Mo and Alika. We've got Canary, who is also known as Courtney. Thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Hi, not a problem. I always love coming on here, so not a problem.
We've got a lot to discuss. You know, there's a lot happening in the wrestling world at the moment. Who is catching your eye, or who is your favourite at the moment that you like to watch?
Well, of course, I really love watching Liv Morgan, but I'm really I'm liking what they're doing with, Lyra, putting her in TV a little bit more, putting her, in the backstage segments. I like the backstage segment that they did with Kofi. It was really good. But the other one that I really like watching is Bronson Reed right now. Bronson Reed is one of my favorites to watch. I think his tsunamis are awesome. This feud that he just had with Seth Rollins, absolutely amazing. They put each other through the ringer, made each other bleed. So I really like watching him and just a bunch of sorry, can't talk today. I like watching him and obviously Seth Rollins too as well. But I really like Dakota's back too. So I really liked her showing on Monday. She looked real good. She looked strong. So those are who I'm enjoying watching right now.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously Dakota back, and you mentioned quite a lot of females there. Obviously, last Friday, Nick Aldis announced the United States Championship for the women's division. Who do you, in your opinion, should be the first?
I said it on Monday and I'll say it again. I think Michin should be the first inaugural women's champion. I mean, she, with any gimmick they've given her, she's done it. She's done the retribution gimmick. She did it. I thought she did great with that. No matter what she does, she always wants to do better, and she's always trying to do better. She's always trying to get on TV. She's always wrestling, So she's put in the work. She's never complained. So I think she deserves to be the first inaugural United States Women's Champion.
Fair play. I see where you're coming from with that. There's also, you mentioned, obviously, Michin. I think also Chelsea Green is also a contender.
I think so too. She's really a strong contender. And now that we're talking about it, I think Dakota would actually make a really strong contender for that championship, given if she can stay healthy and injury free. I think she would make a really good, essentially a United States champion. I don't know about inaugural, but I think she would down the line make a really good one if she can stay healthy.
Definitely 100%. There's a lot of things, happening in the WWE and wrestling world at the moment. Do you think the Bloodline is still hot in 2024?
I think so, just because they're going about all these other avenues of trying to make the story interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, this is probably one of the longest running storylines in WWE history. I don't think, to my knowledge, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this. But to my knowledge, this story has been going for 4 years straight, nonstop, never hit the brakes, always kept going. So I think it's hot right now, especially right now, because it did exactly what I was talking about earlier in the year. It split them down the middle. The house fell. It's divided. And I always drew parallels to Game of Thrones. House Targaryen was one of the biggest, strongest houses in Westeros at that point in time. And the only way that it could, essentially be torn to the ground into ruins and essentially non-existent is through the inside. And that's what we saw happen to the Bloodline through all the years of mental and emotional abuse on Roman's half. And then, to him losing the championship, essentially losing the Ulafana, and then seeing Solo pick it up. Now, in my opinion, I don't think Solo is the true tribal chief, just because it has to be, from my understanding, that has to go through the higher chiefs and stuff like that. And it was appointed to Roman. So in my eyes, he will never be the tribal chief unless they do like tribal combat, or, you know, winner gets the Ulafana and winner is tribal chief, and, you know, loser has to acknowledge the other one type thing. Until I see something like that, where it's actually put on the line, Roman will always be my tribal chief until I see proof of otherwise. And a lot of people are saying, well, for all you know, The Rock is a high chief, so he could have appointed Solo. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think that Solo straight just picked up the Ulafana and was like, I'm tribal chief now. He's not here. He can't tell me no. So I'm going to do it. And I think he was really smart by bringing the Tongans in, because it now made the entire WWE universe question, well, why didn't Roman bring in the Tongans to begin with? Why did he quote unquote, or why did Jay say quote unquote, there's a reason we didn't call them. There's a reason we stayed away from them. So that's now piquing the interest of everyone in the WWE universe. Okay, so what was the original reason? Even though we all know, if you know, watch indie wrestling and stuff like that, you know. But I think that the way that they're doing this story could potentially go another year if they wanted it to.
100%. And we notice here, War Games is 5-on-5. I've seen a rumor that Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed, from the spoilers, is going to be the two people. Personally, I think that's a bad decision.
I'm going to agree with that. Just because I don't. What was the point of Seth putting his body on the line for Cody then? What was the point of, you know, basically him getting ripped to shreds in that tag team match that we saw at WrestleMania? Even though we all know that Seth and Roman will always be brothers, quote unquote, one will always be the little brother, one will always be the big brother. However, it just makes no sense to me. I think it's a bad idea, because if they wanted it to be just family, Sami Zayn I get, because he was part of the Bloodline story to kind of begin with, so I get it. But Bronson Reed makes no sense on their end. I love the guy, but it makes no sense, because when you look at War Games, you look at ongoing feuds with certain groups of people. And yeah, I understand that sometimes people will come together, but that's like, it just makes no sense to me, because what beef does Bronson Reed have with the original Bloodline? They never came in contact with each other.
Exactly.
So it makes no sense. Seth, I could understand, because he's always going to have, you know, beef, but what is his beef with Solo?
He doesn't have it, does he?
I don't think so. So just it doesn't make sense.
Definitely doesn't. So if I was going to pick, one member from each side, this is how I would book it. I'd have Cody on Roman's side, and then I would have the Bloodline 2.0, like, not reveal their fifth member until the night. And then when it comes down to like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the cameras, like the lights go onto the pod, and then they're like, who is it? And then you just hear, if you smell what the Rock is cooking, that's the person that would be, because then that's the way of like putting Cody and the Rock back in it together.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would be an interesting theory. That would be quite good, I think.
I think it would, because all the people you named were key players in the ending of WrestleMania last year. That feud was one of the biggest feuds and one of the hottest stories in WWE for the longest time. So all those players and components make sense. So I love that booking, and I really wish the WWE booked it like that, because if that is true and that is the route they're going, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
100%.
0 sense.
Nothing. And you know what? That booking, I've just said, that That is like big, because then that's the way you can bring like The Rock and Cody back together. Because The Rock said after WrestleMania, "Do you know what? I'll see you soon. I'll see you down the road." And then he whispered something to Cody, and then apparently we just know it's a matter of time. Like when they have a match, it's just they've not had that interaction since Mania, apart from was it Bad Blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've not had a interaction since then. It's not, and that wasn't really an interaction. So the fact that if The Rock came, rock bottom Cody, 1, 2, 3, bang, 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 he's pinned him, and he's fought him a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And then that gives him, going into the new year, I've got a pin victory. I've got a victory over you. I've pinned you. You've not pinned me. You know what I mean? It sets the story up for Mania.
It does, and we are getting into that. We're starting to get close to that season again, that, the realm of WrestleMania. So yeah.
Who would you rather have, Roman versus The Rock or Cody versus The Rock?
Give me Roman versus The Rock, even though I was primarily responsible for them getting robbed of that match this year. My bad. However, give us The Rock versus Roman. Even though I was a clear advocate that, yes, it would have made a lot of money this year. It would have been one of the biggest, most talked about feuds of the year. But that's not the route they went. I was a Cody crybaby and just cried. So I am going to redeem myself and say Roman versus The Rock.
Yeah, and that could be for the Ulafala.
Yep. It could be for the Ulafala, because then the other one just has the bragging right, saying, well, I beat you. You're supposed to be the highest of the High Chiefs, and yet I beat you. Therefore, I am highest of the High Chiefs now, not you.
Mm-hmm. I think if they do Rock vs. Cody, I think Roman should have faced Solo.
I think so too. If they're going to just have them, Cody and Roman, settle it, or not Cody and Roman, Roman and
Cody and The Rock.
Cody and The Rock, and then Solo and Roman. I mean, I think the match would be great just because it's one that a lot of people would want to see.
Definitely. Plus, Solo recently pinned him.
He did. I forgot.
So,
I forgot about that. He did.
I found out earlier that Solo is the only person to pin Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and John Cena.
Really?
Which is quite a weird stat if you think about it.
It's almost remnant of Randy Orton's The Legend Killer era, when he was just going through and knocking out just Hall of Famers, legends, people that, were in the business for years. So I think that's kind of cool, actually, because that reminds me so much of Randy's Legend Killer era.
Definitely. And I think if I'm going to put Roman to verse someone at Royal Rumble, I think he should verse Jacob. Caliber match, kicking in the new year. And then go in the Rumble.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good one.
I mean, I love Jacob Fatu. He's amazing. His I love you solo every 5 seconds.
I love it. It's funny.
Sends me, makes me laugh all the time. I think it would be a really good match because you could see the look in Jacob's eyes anytime Roman or any of the original Bloodline members get anywhere near close to him. He basically just wants to sock their lights out. Just wants to dismantle them all the time. So I think it would be a great match because it puts old Bloodline versus the new Bloodline, but it's one person. You don't have any of the outside factors, which is what we see all the time with the Bloodline specifically. Outside factors play key variables. But I think that if they just kept it 1v1, no outside interference, anything like that, I think that the match would probably be one of the biggest matches. And then, lead it into Rumble and then trickle it into WrestleMania.
Definitely. We mentioned, obviously, John Cena. John Cena's going to be having his final match in 2025. He's also going to be having his final match at WrestleMania. So he's going to be doing a long year. I think it's like 40 dates or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who, in your mind, should be his WrestleMania opponent?
I want to see him and The Rock go at it one more time. I want to see
Oh,
him. I want to see
okay.
him and The Rock have one more blowout, intense, really good feud. They both lay it out on the line. You know, whether it be his first feud back or his very, very last feud to, you know, finish out his tour. I think that it would be a really great one because we've seen both of them get really intense and get really serious. And, you know, when it gets down to it, who's the best of the best, who's better than who. So I think that feud would be one of the greatest feuds I've ever seen. And I would like to experience it as an adult.
Very true. He's also, I've seen the rumors that he should be going for the 17 times. Do you think he should break it?
As in a championship
Yeah.
run?
Do you think he should break Ric Flair's record?
At this point, you might as well. You're going all the way. You're doing a whole goodbye tour. You're doing one full year in the WWE, in and out. I think might as well add a title run in there, even if it is for a very short amount of time. He still can say he beat Ric Flair's record. So
he's also not won the Intercontinental title.
Yep. I think, you know, might as well add a title run to his last run. I think it would make it all that much more better and all that much more, you know, sweeter in the end. So I say, why not?
So with the big four, you've got the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and we'll call it Survivor Series. You mentioned WrestleMania for The Rock. I personally think Randy Orton.
Ooh.
But if you could pick for the other three big pay-per-views, who are you giving his opponents to be?
If he was still wrestling, I would say Triple H, just because any feud that he had with Triple H when I would watch growing up were some of my favorites. Just from the comedic relief to just like the all-out intensity. And again, I'd like to experience it as an adult because growing up, I didn't really understand that much about it. I just understood men were throwing each other around and understand why they were essentially mad at each other. But as an adult, I understand so much more now. So I think it would be great just to see them run it back. But unfortunately, Triple H is not a wrestler anymore. He laced up the boots. He called it quits in the ring, which, you know, is fine. But if the Undertaker is willing to lace up the boots one more time, I'm going to say Mark Calloway, the Undertaker.
Okay. And I think his final. Do you think for his final in March in December 2025, he should put over a young talent or go out on a rivalry that he's had?
He's put over so much talent already. You know, obviously in his run, we know that he's going to put over some talent too. We know that. But I think, you know, this is his very last run. It should be about him. So make it a blowout old feud with somebody that he wouldn't have to put over. Somebody that's already over. Somebody that both of them are already over with the crowd. They're both universally well loved. So that way it just makes it about, you know, the match and not necessarily because and I'm going to get real when I say this. When I think about putting somebody over, it's just solidifying that they get to keep their job in a sense.
Yeah.
So that way John Cena is not solidifying anyone keeps their job or loses it, but that way it would be about him. And I think that because he's so selfless, if they did come to him and say, hey, we want you to put so-and-so over, they're new, they're not really getting over with the people. However, but if we put them in a match with you and you put them over, it might there might be some more like ground for them to walk on with the fans. I could see them saying that, and I hope they don't do that because he is very selfless and he'll say, yeah, not a problem. But I want to see him be selfish, make his last feud, his last match, make him win, have him go out on top, solidify that he is the greatest of all time.
Definitely. I agree with you on that one. And I think he should. I think his final match should be against CM Punk.
As much as I don't like Phil, as much as I don't like him, I think it would be a good match. I think it would be a great feud. I think it would draw so much money. And again, as much as I don't like him, I know that match would be 11 out of 10. Greatest match. One for the history.
You say you don't like Phil, but since he's come back, I think he's been really good in the ring. Not to say at the age that he is, he's put on some really good matches with Drew McIntyre.
That I agree with. His in-ring ability is a lot better than when I first saw him in the Royal Rumble. I think it was beginning of this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
When I first saw him, I wasn't, all that excited. I wasn't blown away. But since he's been back, and I will say, I may not like him as a person, but as a wrestler, he's good in the ring. He's safe. He puts on banger feuds with whoever he's feuding with, whether it be Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, whoever. He is always putting on amazing matches. So, like I said, I may not like them, but I always give them flowers where flowers are due. And he's good on the mic. He draws money. He did earn respect points in my book when he made things happen for the girl that originally made him the bracelet that was the center of his feud with Drew McIntyre. I think he arranged, tickets front row or something like that for her, or something along those lines. But he earned respect points in my book for that. So I may not like him or respect him, but he is a good wrestler and he's great on the mic. So I think he would put on a good match with John Cena.
Definitely. They've had a few bangers before on there as well. That summer that he had was very good. But anyway, we know your opinions on Phil. Was it Fragile Phil? Or as MJF said it?
Yep, Fragile Phil.
Fragile Phil. Jesus. Another exciting thing coming up this weekend, we have Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Talk to me about that. What's your opinion on that? What's your thoughts?
So if I'm looking at this from an analytical standpoint, and you're just looking at both of them, obviously, when you look at Mike Tyson, to the naked eye, you're like, if you've seen a couple of his fights, you're going to be like, yeah, Jake Paul's going to lose. But what you don't understand is as time goes on and as you get older, your body starts to wear down. It's not going to be as fast. It's not going to be as reactive as, it used to be. And I'm not sure how old he is. I think he's like 50 something.
58.
58. Yeah, he's damn near 60. So he's not going to be as fast as Jake Paul. Given some of the videos I've seen of him training, he's fast, but you have to look at age difference. You have to look at, ability wise. Jake Paul is really fast. And again, as much as I don't like the Paul brothers, they know how to fight. Jake knows how to fight. As much as I don't like him, as much as I hate him, the man can fight. The man knows how to throw a punch. So I think so I'm going to change my tune from when I first talked about it at the beginning of the year. I think it's going to be pretty evenly matched. I think if Jake does manage to, pull out the win and, KO Mike Tyson of all people, I mean, he's going to go down as probably one of the greatest of all time. I mean, as much as I don't like to say that, you have to think about the day and age we're in and the criteria for greatest of all time. And I use that loosely, so that is why I say that. I think it's going to be a really good money-making match for Netflix.
Oh, 100%. And I
However,
think the
my
fact that
money's on Mike Tyson.
I'm glad you said that, because if the way you were speaking, it sounded like you were going for Jake.
No. Let me make that perfectly clear. Like I said, from an analytical standpoint, looking at it. Personally looking at it, I want Mike Tyson to beat the absolute hell out of him because I don't like him. I want him to win. I want him to KO Jake Paul. So.
Definitely. I think, would you say Jake Paul's got a lot to lose if he gets knocked out?
No.
You don't think? You don't think he's got a lot to lose? Getting knocked out by pretty much your granddad.
But you also got to think most people are going to say that granddad is quote unquote Mike Tyson. What did you think was going to happen? Like, that's why I said it loosely, because in a way, again, it's going to sound like I'm praising him, but I'm not. He's a smart businessman. He set this up to where if he fights him, obviously people know that he may not win, so it doesn't make him look any weaker. But it also doesn't make Mike Tyson look that much weaker either, because he is 58 years old. He, if I'm not mistaken, this is his first boxing match back.
He's had an exhibition against Evander Holyfield, but apart from that,
yeah, his second.
Third boxing.
Yeah, second. So he hasn't had very many fights. That's where I was kind of looking at it from the analytical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, he hasn't had that many fights. I haven't seen him training as often recently. So that's why I'm like very iffy. But personally, I want Mike Tyson to beat his ass.
So do I. I want Mike Tyson to knock the shit bells out of him. I think Jake Paul had what? I want to say 8 to 9 fights or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And he's faced UFC fighters, YouTubers, one boxer, now number 2 with Tyson. He's faced people that really aren't like, come on. But if you think now, he's faced Tommy Fury, which that was an even fight. I think that was a close fight for Paul. Tommy deserved the win.
He did.
By just, I think, if Jake Paul wins this, someone who I would love to see him against is Canelo.
Oh, yeah. That would be
because that would be, yeah. I think he called him out a couple of weeks ago or something crazy like that. But if, yeah, Canelo or even Floyd.
Ooh, Floyd Mayweather. That would be a good one. That
Because Floyd and Logan had like a little bit of a thing, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's because I think Logan ran his math and he's like, yeah, I can beat anybody. I can beat so-and-so. And I'm like, don't, just stop talking.
Definitely. Or you've got Jake versus KSI, because they've been in the talks for a little bit.
Again,
but that's not happened.
Not a real boxer, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you're fighting YouTubers. You're fighting people you know. People you can pay off to be like, yeah, just say this to me online. Make the insult seem like a little bit of a personal jab, so that way the people on the internet believe that this is real. And, even though we're staging this whole thing, in all reality, that's what I think of when he fights people like KSI or, other YouTubers. I'm like, what's the fucking point? If you're going to be a boxer, box boxers. Don't box people you're friends with.
I can see where you're coming from with that one. But yeah, him versus Canelo, that would be a really good one. 100%. That is because Canelo is fast. I mean, very fast.
He is.
And once smacked by him, bang, done.
Woo.
I always ask everyone this, an inspirational message. What's yours?
What's mine? Like one that I live by? I have several, but right now my favorite one to go by is God give me the strength to not, worry about things that I can't control, and then the strength to, control the things that I can, or worry about the things that I can control instead. because that's my biggest problem, especially with everything that I'm going through right now. A lot of it is out of my control. A lot of the stuff I'm dealing with is out of my control. So I can't keep being frustrated about it or getting upset about it. But what I can do is I can fix the way that I view it. I can fix the way that I see everything. And, like we were talking about before, I might have some really big life decisions to make. And it's not a bad thing. It will probably be one of the greatest things for me. But it's something I can control. Other things I can't control are pain, chronic pains. That's stuff I can't control.
Yeah.
But what I can control is minimizing it. So that quote is something that I've lived by for the longest time, especially since I got hurt. So I think that one. And I know I didn't say the quote like correctly, so don't come for me, guys. But you guys understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And, I've spoke to you off camera messages and stuff like that. And I know you're like the Twitter, one of my Twitter friends, and it's good that I've come across you. I had Jazz Marie on yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Did one with her, an episode. And it's just crazy how, some nice people that you do come across on the internet. There is a lot of nice people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're one of them. Jazz is another one. Alika and Mo, they're nice people. It's just nice little close. I'm not going to say fan base, but like close friends that you can have on the internet that you can talk to, stuff like that. And I like that, especially for me. I'm across the pond. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're in the United States, so it's a bit. There's 8 hours between me and you now.
Yeah.
I think it's 12:30 where you are.
It's 11:30.
11:30, but it looks dark.
Oh, I have my curtains closed.
Yeah. It's 7:30 in the evening for me now, so the time difference that we're doing this now, I really do appreciate your time.
Yeah,
I say that to anyone, whoever I record with. Just thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
I definitely will get you on in 2025, third time.
Yay.
And then some of the stuff what we've said might have happened.
Oh, yes.
So that'll be good to talk about.
Now, my hope is that, I can get my pain under control long enough that I can go to WrestleMania and I can follow through with going to the Royal Rumble, because my mom really does want to take me. So because it's in Indiana and she happens to live out in Indiana and the venue happens to only be an hour away from where she lives. So that's, my hope, and being able to talk about some of my experiences live more often.
I'll be praying for you, and I hope everything works out for you and that you do get to go, because I will be jealous, not going to lie. Everything's in America, whereas we only get like 1 or twice a year in the UK. But yeah, very jealous. So I hope everything does work out for you. You get to go to events, WrestleMania. Jealous. Do you know what I mean?
Because it's watching from the parking lot with how expensive those tickets are.
Expensive. Very expensive. Plus it's flights, it's this, it's that. It all adds up.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram, Snapchat, or not Snapchat, sorry. Instagram, Twitter, and I now have Blue Sky. They're all under the same name. Hey, it's Canary. It's supposed to be like a different, more relaxed version of Twitter. And since my page gets Blue Sky, yeah, that's what everyone's switching to.
I didn't know that.
Because one, the new block, when you block people, they can still see your posts and stuff like that. So essentially you're not really blocking them. You're just blocking interaction. Which is stupid. But I guess Blue Sky, when you block them, it's a block. They can't talk to you. They can't see you. They can't see any of your like post activity. So I ended up switching over there. I'm still keeping my Twitter, but you can find me on all of those sites at the same username. Hey, it's Canary.
Awesome, Courtney. Thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate your time. As always, it's really good to have you on.
Of course. Had a lot of fun. Distracted me. Thank you.
What can I say? That's what I'm here for. If you ever need anything, just give me a message.
Of course.
Awesome. Take it easy. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
You too.
Cheers.